Hey, good to see you. Thanks for coming. This is another episode of Wireframe, and today we're going to be talking about disabled buttons. Now, it's been a little while since the last episode, I think. I don't know, the days are kind of merging together, but I'm back with another episode, clearly. This is what you're listening to at the moment. I am working on the new format of Wireframe in the background a little bit. In fact, this particular weekend, I'm going to be free to do things, and I have a couple of items that are coming in to help me prepare the new setup, hopefully. So I expect to have the majority of it kind of done, hopefully next week. I think I still will have episodes here where I am right now for next week, because I'm waiting for a couple more things that are going to take a little bit to do. But I suspect that we will probably see a new kind of format for Wireframe probably next month. So that's what I'm kind of like working towards there. But in terms of other things that are going on, there are definitely events happening. In fact, last night was a great event by UXDX in New York, here in the Empire State Building, at the Priceline or the Booking.com folks. And we had some great speakers on that last night. And their next event is going to be in October, so I'll let you know when those things are happening, of course. But there is another event coming. I will talk about that event, which will be Tuesday next week here in New York as well. That if you're in New York, you should absolutely show up and be a part of it. I believe it's going to be outside, as long as the weather's nice. Anyway, we're going to talk about the topic for today, which is disabled buttons. Now, I have some very strong opinions when it comes to the resources that a design system should provide, such that we don't fall into bad practices. And one of those things is the idea that disabled buttons should be removed from the face of the planet. In fact, disabled elements should just be removed from the face of the planet. Now, that's a very hard and fast rule, generally speaking. I do know that there have been examples of stuff where, like, oh, maybe a disabled button works here, or maybe it doesn't work here. And when I think about my other hard and fast rules, I always have some way to make a better experience without the bad thing. Right? So in the case of modals, for example, I have a lot of examples of being able to remove the modal in favor of some other pattern, right? So for disabled buttons, I also thought in most cases that I could think of, I would have no problem having some other pattern to remove this disabled button. But maybe not. I'm going to talk about something that I found recently in my own system that I was like, oh, I'm doing this and I should probably stop and have some reasoning behind it. So for the folks who are just listening, I'm going to be showing a couple of things here, but I'll try to explain what I'm showing as usual. But I'm going to go into the computer. And the first thing I'm going to see here is a post by Adrien Rosselli. He's accessibility advocate, and the title of this post is "Don't Disable Form Controls." And the first paragraph, or first section here, has a heading that says, "It's okay to disable buttons." And this obviously triggers me as its own little hot take, but there is an image on the right here that is showing like this very physical tactile button that you might even see in like an aircraft or a very, kind of important control panel that has like this red cover over the switch. And that red cover is meant such that you don't throw the switch accidentally, right? And he explains in the caption here that there are plenty of cases where you want to disable a button until a user takes a conscious action to enable it, such as launching nuclear missiles. Yes, of course, hopefully that we're doing that in the right way. But when you read the actual post here, he actually explains a little bit that buttons do a lot of things, and it's a very much like a it depends kind of thing. However, he goes on to say to not disable submits on forms. And in fact, he has a nice little decision tree that asks, is the control part of a form? If it's no, then maybe don't disable it. If it's yes, don't disable it. And that's basically the decision tree. So basically at the no part, he's saying maybe don't disable it, but test, right? And this decision tree in and of itself is really leaning hard over to the don't disable the button world, right? I don't think he really gives any UI examples or graphical UI examples of disabling things in here. Not that I could see in here. He also says read-only is not a solution. So I didn't see much in here, but in my own work, which I'll go over here into the my own system, my pagination component that I designed and built does currently have a disabled button in it. And it's right here. And the reason for that is, I guess, kind of, intuitive, is that if I'm at the first page of results, I shouldn't be able to click the back button to go, well, back any further, because there's nowhere to go. There's only the results that you're seeing here, right? And come back to me for a second. In my mind, I'm trying to think of, okay, I have this rule that I want to instate. I want to instate the fact that there are no disabled buttons. But this looks like a really good case for a disabled button, right? Because, you know, just like how I explained, you can't go back any further, so you shouldn't be able to click the button to try to go back. Now, in thinking about this, I said to myself, hold on a second, there's a little bit more to this story. Maybe I'll pause on that because I want to show some examples of other paginations that I've saw. So let me actually share those real quick. I got all these from component.gallery, so there's a whole bunch here. There's apparently 48 examples worth on pagination. And pagination generally does have disabled, right, when you're at the first page. So this is base web, which is from Uber. I believe it's still from Uber. I never can tell, actually. It never has any branding on here. But we could see in the pagination component, the first example here, the previous button is disabled. It shows the cursor, it's grayed out, it's not interactive. And this is very common across other systems that I found on component.gallery. Another example here is at Polaris. However, the thing that I want to note here, and this is kind of like the aha moment that I had, is that pagination is listed under navigation, right? It's listed under the same area that tabs are here and link is here. Apparently, whatever these things are, footer help and full screen bar here too. But link and tabs and pagination, they're all navigation elements. I saw this also at NewsKit, right? So NewsKit also has a navigation subheading for their components, and they have pagination in there. They have tabs in here, the link, breadcrumbs, alt menu is in here as well for navigation. So that was a clue in what I wanted to potentially do. So typically when we see a pagination, like many of the ones that are in here, we see them as buttons, right? This is like the motif of a button, and because we typically don't expect to do a full page navigation for most of these pagination things, especially when it's in a table, that's why it's a button, right? Because you're not doing a navigational, change. However, there's something about the user experience of having a URL that could be bookmarked or shared or revisited or even just opened up in a new tab when it comes to looking over results, right? Like, just imagine you having a list of emails, let's say, right? And you're just trying to find one particular email, and you, after going through pages and pages and pages, you find the email, right? And you're not necessarily ready to do anything with that email. You just want to make sure that it's ready for you, right? So it's like in this one spot. So maybe you want to copy the URL to that page such that I could get to it later, right? If the URL didn't change and you did that pagination, well, you would have to go ahead and remember the page and go back to it in the UI, and maybe that's a little bit cumbersome. And maybe this example is also a little contrived too. I can imagine this is like looking at real estate listings in the same kind of way, or looking at other, e-commerce buys that you might have had. But all of this is to say that it may be nice for you to use the browser's native functionality to save that page, so to speak, in your own way, such that you don't have to necessarily, hope that the interface that you're working at has its own save functionality or has its own very complex way of getting back to that particular page, especially if there's multiple pages, right? Dozens of pages, maybe even hundreds, maybe make it very difficult to find again. So there's something really interesting about having pagination be connected to the URL bar because it is navigation. And in that sense, I think there's a way to describe pagination as links, right? And I'm sure that I've seen this elsewhere. I would actually suspect that on Amazon, when you're going through pages of results on Amazon, I'm pretty sure that there's a full page reload that's going on there. That's pagination. That's really what's going on there. And those are links, right? Because you're getting a new link in the URL bar every time you paginate. And this could be the exact same case for single page applications where the entire page isn't necessarily reloading, but the URL is changing, and we have mechanisms in order for us to be able to do that such that a person can go back. Now, if that is the expected behavior where everything is a link and the URL is changing, well, that means that the back button, which is now the back link, that doesn't necessarily need to be disabled. All that's going to do is take you back a page, and every time you go back a page, it'll be fine. And then if you're at the first page, you can effectively say that that back button is kind of like reloading the page, right? I think the most important part of the pagination at that point is just to show what page you're currently on at that point, right? I think there's some, I guess, research that I personally need to do in my own component to ensure that we convey that we are on the current page, or the current page is the first page, and there are no other pages to go to, right? Especially in the case of like maybe a live region that's saying, hey, look, the table is actually updating. You need to go ahead and take a peek at what has changed in there. It might be something that you need, right? From, again, accessibility standpoint. So something to really pay attention to in there that I haven't yet, but I really do like the idea to, again, removing the disabled button thing, because I don't think that I should provide that at all. I think this as the replacement pattern, or really the more accurate pattern, is the way to go. That everything ends up being a link and everything ends up changing the URL bar. Yeah, I think that's the right play. I don't know what that API necessarily looks like to make sure that it does change the URL bar. I'm assuming that there's some sort of like on change, and then here's what the new URL is supposed to look like, or here are the pieces for the URL. I don't know, I gotta take a look at that. But anyway, from the user's perspective point of view, I think, again, links makes the most sense to, again, drop the disabled buttons, make sure that it's not even a part of the tool set, such that you can always find a better pattern that's out there. Again, no foot guns would be great. But that's what I was thinking about today. Let me know what you think about disabled buttons down in the comments down below. Make sure you play nice down there as usual. But let me get into some of the things that are happening. So I do know that Ben Callahan has the question this week, although by the time of me recording this, the session should have been closed, but I think the actual live episode is, oh, is it? Okay. Oh, episode 58 is closed. You missed the deadline. Okay, yeah, so we missed the deadline. Apparently they're going to go live with the next episode on Monday the 4th with Kevin Coyle. Yeah, so the question is happening. Again, it's late in the week, so it's a little weird for me to figure out when that was or wasn't or whatever, but the question is going on. Apparently there'll be another episode on Monday the 4th, which will be in a couple weeks. I'm sure I'll be live before that to remind folks. That's happening, or will be happening. The other thing I want to mention for the folks that are in New York, there is a meetup that is happening. Here is the information. It'll be on Tuesday, July 29th, which is this coming Tuesday from the time of this recording, from 6 to 8 p.m. It'll be at Washington Square Park by West 4th Street. Apparently, there are only 9 spots left, so get it while you're hot. I suspect that because this is an outside thing, that they'll probably be, okay to have more things here. It's a BYO situation. And we have a whole bunch of my favorite people here. Ada Kunle's coming, Diana, Natalia, me, Adam Kuzma, I know. Who am I missing here? Andy, I know as well. And this is the other Andy I know as well. So all good people here. Looking forward to this stuff. Who's the maybes here? Who can't figure it out? Ooh, Kevin. Hey, Kevin. Yeah, you should come on down. Yeah, so if you're going to be in the New York City area next week, it would be great for you to show up in the afternoon or evening, I guess, say on Tuesday, and talk with other design systems folks that are in the space. Love this kind of stuff. Chat on things. Let me know and let us know what you're working on. That would be really cool. In terms of jobs that are going on, I think I did see some things. Yeah, Netlify is hiring a staff brand designer in Canada. And MongoDB is hiring here in New York, right? So they're looking for a staff product designer for design systems and a UI engineer for design systems. I do know the head of design over there. He's a great guy, Fred. Looking out for you, Fred. Seeing if there's some good candidates out there. So if anyone's interested in working at MongoDB, you will need to be in New York for that. I'm pretty sure. I think it's all in office or maybe very maybe hybrid. But yeah, there's doing some cool stuff over there. I know. Actually, UXDX had a presentation from MongoDB about their new navigation in there, which was really awesome to listen to because I'm familiar with doing some navigational stuff from the platform level. So I really love to hear those let's call them war stories when that happens. And I think that shall do it for today. Again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you should leave them down below. Also, as a reminder, if you want to be a guest on the show, when I get that up and running, again, next month, there is a website, wireframe.fm, with a form on the bottom. You could submit the form to be a guest on the show. I suspect if this works out, that list should be very significant. Like I said on the last show, I think there's a couple of people who I'd never heard of before, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they have to say about design and development and disambiguating our digital world. All right, well, that'll be it for me today. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.